All right, good morning, Kipsters. Today is Wednesday, April 15th, 2020. Let's jump right on in. So, our word of the day Monday was negligent, Tuesday was irate, yesterday was abrasive, and today is impartial. So, your job is to find the definition of this word, create your own definition for this word, and create your own sentence for this word. Okay? So, you're finding the definition, creating your own definition, and then you're creating a sentence for this word. Okay? Let's jump into our lesson. Lesson of the day. So our objective today is determining point of view. So let's talk about the what. What are we actually doing? So we will learn to recognize text clues that indicate an author's point of view. The why. We will identify clues indicating a positive or negative attitude while reading. This will help us because it will help us infer the author's point of view about the topic being explained. The how, like the how. So we're going to determine an author's purpose and point of view about the topic and informational text. We will cite evidence to explain how the author's point of view is conveyed in the text, and then we will analyze the techniques an author used to distinguish his or her position on an issue from that of others. Okay, so let's pause there real quick because it sounded like it was a lot that was said, and it's like, Miss Hall, I need to actually see that. I get it. Let's go ahead and jump right into our lesson. All right, so today we're going to be looking at this illustration right here. So I just want us to explore the ideas of point of view, okay? So when I say explore the ideas, it's not just what we're actually reading, but it's what we're seeing as well. So um, as we're looking at this illustration, it's going to help us recognize different clues of point of view, okay? So it says, look at a photo or a picture of an event, and you can usually figure out the feeling and attitudes of people involved. Actions, body language, and other clues give away each person's point of view about what's happening. So, just based off this illustration, what we're going to figure out is one, um, what is point of view? Okay, let's think about what point of view is first. So, think about what I just read. So, action, body language, and other clues that give away each person's point of view. So, just by that, I want us to just look at this picture, and based off this picture, I want us to think about um, the different point of view of the people that's actually watching the parade. So we have a woman, we have a man, we have a child, right? Yes. I just want you to before even reading the evidence and topic, I just want you out of your own mind to just see what the different point of views will be before we even go into the answers. I want you to take 1 minute to do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and move down to the chart. So I just want you to look at this chart first off. So this chart has the details of the point of view from each person watching the parade, which is the man, woman, and the child. Okay, so the topic is the parade, the evidence. The woman is smiling, the man in the baseball cap is waving a flag. So we could tell, like, if you're smiling, that means you're happy about something. You know, it's something that's bringing you joy, right? So that would be looked at as a positive thing. The man that's wearing the baseball cap is waving at the flag. He's waving at the flag. If we go back to the picture, I'm seeing sorry, I'm sorry. He's waving a flag. If we look back at the picture, just by him waving the flag, right? Look at his facial expression. Look at that facial expression. it looks like a positive tone, right? While on the other hand, if we look at the kid's expression, as it said, the child is frowning and holding his ears. It looks like he's irritated, he's a little mad, right? So of course that would be looked at as negative. Okay, so the woman that is smiling in the base, and the man that in a baseball hat that's waving his flag is a positive attitude, right? So the point of view for those two characters will be the man and the woman are excited and happy to be watching the parade. So you see how I have already said that just by seeing them smiling and actually like participating, like giving feedback to the parade, because I say feedback because he's waving his flag. So to me, that's him actually participating in the events that's happening. So with them actually, smiling and participating, kind of, it's like they're happy to be watching the parade. Like this is bringing them joy. While on the other hand, it says the child dislikes the noise from the parade, which would make sense because it looks like he's angry. He has his hands over his ears, which we already know if you've ever been to a parade. A parade is loud. It's going to be music. If he has his hands over his ears, he don't want to be here. It's not what he want to hear. He's not interested in what's going on. So of course, that would be looked at as negative, just from those pieces of evidence, and it shows you what point of view the author, what point of view that character is at. I'm sorry, I mixed that up. So we already know that their attitudes are positive and negative, and then we already know what their point of view is, which is the man and woman is happy. The child is a little frustrated because maybe he's not feeling it. He doesn't like the noise, right? Okay. So I just want you guys to remember that picking up clues, it indicates a positive or negative attitude when we're reading, right? It helps us to understand the point of view about the topic. The topic at hand right now would be this illustration. That sounds familiar, right? Right. So let's go ahead and move down just a tad bit, not too much. So the next thing we're going to read is a scientific account, which we have talked about because we read about it yesterday. So we already know that today we already know about a little bit about science accounts because we talked about it yesterday. So just a quick reminder. In the lesson we're about to read informational text. So one of the types of informational text is a scientific account. All right. So we know that a scientific account is a piece of writing that provides information about scientific research or other science related topics. Right. We also know that with scientific accounts, it often opens with an explanation about the thesis or the theory behind the scientific topic, and then gives us examples about more details that's like more more elaborate details on it. Okay, so with scientific accounts, you will see. I'm starting to move up. So with that, you will see Um, some may include like charts, photos, graphs. Others may have sidebars with additional facts or subheading to show how the ideas are organized. Okay. And the purpose is to explain scientific findings or any events or discoveries with ties to science. Okay. So the next thing that we're reading is Rising from the Ashes. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started in that. But before we get into that, one thing I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and first, okay, so what I want you to do first is before we jump right into reading, I want you to have this question in your mind. The question that I want you to think about is what is the author's point of view about the eruption, okay? So just by that question, we already have a little insight into what we're going to read about. We already know there's a scientific um, account, so we already know the journey. Let's jump in. So it was a disaster. The stuff of nightmares, and yet it began in broad daylight. On the morning of Sunday, May 18th, 1980, Mount St. Helens erupted with a horrendous blast that blew 1,300 feet off the top of the mountain. Within miles, an ash cloud shot 15 miles into the sky. People up to 200 miles away could hear the roar of the volcano, and people as far as Spokane, Washington, 350 miles from the mountain, watched in amazement as ash from the black sky turned their world a powdered gray. That morning, Craig Render of Richmond, Washington, was bathing, with his wife. Render, Render, Render witnessed the ash cloud blot out all daylight and terrified, thought it was the end of the world. To some it was. The terrible blast struck down nearly 150 square miles of forest, filling trees like matchsticks. The dreadful eruption lasted 9 hours, but Mount St. Helens and the surrounding wilderness were forever changed within moments. Now remember I asked you that question at the beginning of our reading. What is the author's point of view about the eruption? Okay? So the topic we already know is the eruption of Mount St. Helens. Our first piece of evidence is it was a disaster, the stuff of nightmares. Our second piece of evidence is a horrendous blast. So I want us to just look over. I know that was kind of fast. I kind of just jumped right into the questions. So the first thing I asked you is, what is the author point of view about the eruption, right? So as we read, you had time to think about that. I'm going to give you another 30 seconds just from based off what we talked about. What do you think the author's point of view is? All right. So if we go back to our evidence from the text, it was a disaster, the stuff of nightmares. Disaster. Hmm. To me, disaster is like a key word because anytime you hear anything disaster, it's not a good thing, right? So I would say that it's a negative. Disaster and nightmare both kind of set me off to say that this is a negative attitude towards this, right? A horrendous blast. A horrendous blast. Horrendous would be a cool word because what does horrendous actually mean? So horrendous would be like terrible, like something that was awful, right? So that would be negative. Now we need another piece of evidence to find out what the point of view was for the author. Okay, so let's just look. We got it was a disaster, stuff for nightmares. We have a horrendous blast, and what's another one? So the evidence from the text that I'm gonna pull is thought it was the end of the world. So let me go back up. Thought it was the end of the world. Okay. Ugh. Yeah, it's not gonna do it. But don't worry, I'm gonna show it in a minute. Thought it was the end of the world will be my piece of evidence. And would that be positive if I think it's the end of the world? No, I wouldn't be. So of course that would be negative, right? So that will go in this box. So let's go over to all right, I'm sorry. So thought it was the end of the world. We know that both of these are negative. So the author's point of view would be the author believes that the eruption of Mount St. Helens is a remarkable but terrible event because of the widespread damage it caused. Right? And the reason I say that is because when we look back at our text, it says that the dreadful the dreadful eruption lasted 9 hours, but Mount St. Helens and the surrounding wilderness forever uh, will forever change within moments, right? So that will go along with what I just said as far as it was a remarkable but terrible event because of the widespread damage it caused. Like it just said that the place around the mountain was changed within moments. Meaning the author was feeling some type of way about that. Change the moments meaning it's not the same anymore. Because I mean it was 9 hours long. It talks about how um, it was how the volcano actually erupted. I hope that makes sense because I kind of just said a lot in one. Okay, so if I was to run back through this for you guys to understand, so let's do a quick thinking out loud just for you to follow through. So I can look for clues, which I did, to help figure out how the author is feeling about the eruption. Okay, so in the first sentence, the author writes, it was a disaster. This disaster, the stuff of nightmares, right? Which we had talked about. I'm just going back through it. So the word disaster and nightmare suggests his feeling of horror, right, about an event. Now we know somebody's feeling horrible is a bad thing. So in the second sentence, it said the author uses the horrendous blast, which we talked about. The phrase is also a clue as how the author feels about the eruption. Okay, and then the last one, I want to, the reason I'm going back through this is because I want to be able to explain this a little bit more so that we all on the same page. So when I'm figuring out this answer, um, I'm looking at paragraph 2. I see that the text says, thought it was the end of the world. That also suggests like a negative attitude, right? Because it's the end of the world. Think about the end of the world. That means nobody else exists. So based on the evidence that I found, I determined what the point of view was just by that part right there, which would be negative as well. Okay, so now I have all three of these, all three of these, and then we already know what the author's point of view is. Okay, I hope that was understandable. I'm sorry, I had to go back. I hope you guys caught that. So let's move down just a little bit more. I want you to remember always read your close reading and your hints because they're here to help you. Okay, so we're going to continue to read about Mount St. Helens, and when on your own, you guys are going to answer the next 2 questions that follow. Okay, so as we read, well, the reason I want you to pay attention to your close read is because it helps us to identify and also remember the important details in the passage. And then the hint that they give us, it helps us to connect the author's point, the author's purpose to the change in the point of view. Okay, so it helps us connect the author's purpose to the change in his point of view. All right, so so as you are reading, I want you to look at different phrases that signal a shift in the attitude. Okay, so from a science perspective, however, the eruption was an exciting event. Ecologics Charles Cresfully, Cresful points out that the volcano devastation at Mount St. Helens provides insight into the reawakening of the ecosystem. It's the most thoughtful studied large forest disturbance in the world, claims Cresful. The blast zone, once barren and habitable, is gradually become fertile ground for growing numbers of plants and animal life. Okay, so where were I? Like the mythical phoenix, the blast zone is rising from the ashes, reborn and very much alive. This spectacular event shocked and amazed many. Nature's ability ability to heal herself. However, it's even more awe inspiring. Okay? So hopefully by the phrases that you picked, it's going to help you demonstrate the shift in the attitude from the earlier passage into now. Okay? I want you to think about what new point of view does the author introduce in this section. This section. Okay? So I want you to answer this question and the question underneath it, in your reading question section. Okay? Let's hit right back to our key points right before we end. So determine the point of view. Okay? So we learned to recognize text clues that indicate our author's point of view. We also will identify, or we identified clues indicating positive and negative attitude while reading. That's what we was doing, because it helped us to infer what the author's point of view was about the topic being explained. So that's what we did with the charts. What we said what the topic was it a positive, negative attitude, and then we explained what the actual effect was. I mean, what the author's point of view was. Okay, so how we determine an author's purpose and point of view about the topic and informational text. We cited evidence to explain how the author's point of view is conveyed in the text. That's when we went back and we determined where in the text, the different phrases that I had y'all looking at. How did that help convey the author's point of view in the text? So analyze the techniques an author uses to distinguish his or her position in an issue from that of others. Okay, so I want you to keep these in mind. So when you are done, I'm sorry, let me log out. When you are done with that, I want you to go back into that. Go ahead and log on to iExcel. Today in iExcel, you're going to be working on identifying a narrative point of view. The same thing we just did, but now you're just going to do a little bit of work on your own. Okay. Make sure you finish that. I just want to go back to our Google Classroom. So you have the iExcel up, which is your extra work that you need to work on. You have your words of the day, which is where you will put your word of the day, the definition you made up, and then a sentence that you made up. You have your reading questions. You have your guided practice. You have your CC practice, okay? And then you have the material itself, all right? So you should have everything that you need. If you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, please, please, please send me a message. All right. You guys have a great day. Miss you guys so much. Bye.